What's up guys, Chad here from shiftinglanes.com. Welcome to another episode of In Case You Missed It. We're back from our winter break, and I say winter break loosely because we just received a metric shit ton of snow to talk Formula One and the Geneva Auto Show. We start with Formula One's new cars. Pretty much everything except from the power units is brand new. We got new wider cars fitted with wider rubber. The aero is different. We now see the return of shark fins. Now I don't know if you're familiar with shark fins, but those are little things off the back of the engine cover, and in some series, case in point the WEC with their LMP cars, those are strictly there to help keep the cars planted. They have a problem with flipping. In Formula One, there's not that big of a problem, and the shark fins are actually there for aerodynamic advantage. With the new lower wings, that means less downforce. The shark fins actually allow more air to hit the spoiler more effectively. Not all the teams are utilizing this, however. Teams like Williams, Mercedes, and a few others are using this weird little device that goes above the rear wing and is actually at the height of the old rear wings. Again, this is used to help divert air to the spoiler, giving the most amount of rear downforce possible. On to preseason testing. As you know, this is a spot where teams kind of just try to log miles, and a lot of them don't really show their true potential. Yes, some of the lesser teams are trying to find speed, but the big teams, your Mercedes, your Ferrari, your Red Bull, they're trying to just iron out some of the kinks so that the cars are ready to go for the first race. However, this doesn't stop us from drawing some conclusions from the first test. Chief among which was it's not Mercedes and their all-conquering AMG F1 car that sat at the top of the timesheets. It was actually Kimi Räikkönen and Ferrari who topped the charts at the end of the test. Räikkönen was the only driver in his Ferrari to crack the 1 minute 19 second barrier. He clocked in with a lap of 1:18.6. This was faster than both Mercedes, who actually had Valtteri Bottas lead the way as far as time was concerned. It's also worth noting that Räikkönen did the lap on the super soft tire, while the likes of Hamilton and others did theirs on the ultra soft tire. This brings us to one major question. Is Ferrari for real this year? Lewis Hamilton seems to think so, and he thinks the Mercedes might actually have trouble keeping pace with the brand new Ferrari. Personally, I've heard this story from Mercedes before, and I'll believe it when we get to Australia. Another surprise in testing was actually Felipe Massa, who came out of retirement to clock the 4th fastest speed. His teammate Lance Stroll was further down the order. That brings me to Red Bull. Red Bull actually gave Mercedes their strongest fight towards the end of last season, and we were expecting big things from them in testing. However, they were kind of middle of the pack as far as the front runners are concerned, and we're beginning to wonder if this is a sign of a larger issue, or is Red Bull just doing what Red Bull does? Red Bull typically doesn't show their full hand more so than other teams during testing. They prefer to let their pace be shown at the first race of the season. However, Ferrari's faster, Mercedes is doing what Mercedes does, and Red Bull's not really keeping pace. Now, this could just be testing, or this could be the sign of a much larger issue. We'll have to wait and see on that one. As far as teams who have much larger issues, and we know they have much larger issues, and we definitely know they're not hiding any speed, well, that's the poor guys over at McLaren Honda. They actually turned the fewest amount of laps during the entire week of testing, and their top driver, Fernando Alonso, has some huge concerns about the car. He says it's underpowered and unreliable. That's a huge problem, especially when you consider the fact that McLaren hasn't really done anything the past few years. Their Honda power unit has been underwhelming at best. Looks like we're in for more of the same from McLaren Honda, which is a shame because McLaren should be up there fighting with the big boys for wins, not fighting to just finish races. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the Geneva Motor Show. This is where Europe's elite goes to unveil their spectacular new offerings. You have Aston Martin in their brand new Valkyrie, which is the Adrian Newey hypercar to end all hypercars. You have Ford, which launched something slightly different in the form of their brand new Fiesta ST, which is now powered by a 3-cylinder, turbocharged 1.5 liter, still producing the same amount of power. And if it's anything like the outgoing model, it's going to be just about the most fun you can have on the roads with your pants on. McLaren just revealed its brand new 650 replacement in the form of the 720S. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. It's a crushing example of what happens when form follows function in the best way possible. The 720S produces 710 horsepower from its 4-liter twin turbocharged engine. Couple that with a lightweight, completely advanced chassis, and this thing's going to be an absolute rocket ship. Not to be outdone, Ferrari launched a brand new car, and it's amazing. It's called the 812 Superfast. Now, if that name sounds familiar, Superfast is a name Ferrari gave to its 64 500. That is a collector's dream. It has an eye-watering price tag. However, Ferrari's bringing back that name, which tells you something about this car. They're super confident about it, and it's going to be simply epic. It's going to have a naturally aspirated V12 as God intended it to be. It's going to produce a shitload of horsepower, 789 to be exact. No clever hybrid technology here, just pure naturally aspirated goodness. It's going to howl, it's going to be a rocket ship, and I for one can't wait to see this thing in action. And now, from an equally famous name, but something completely different than what we've come to expect, and that's from Porsche. When you think of Porsche, certain things come to mind. You think of the most wins ever overall at Le Mans. You think screaming flat sixes. You think rear engine 911s. What you don't think are words like V6 and wagon. I mean, come on, it's Porsche, right? However, Porsche finally unveiled what's going to be the street version of its Panamera Sport Turismo. It's based on the Panamera platform. It's a wagon, of course, and it's absolutely beautiful. Far better looking than the ugly duckling that is the Panamera. You're going to be able to get the Panamera in a load of options. You're going to have a 330 horsepower base offering. You're going to have a 550 fire-breathing turbo variant and a 426 combined hybrid drivetrain. Regardless of which way you go, this thing is, and I definitely mean is, the perfect family car. It's a Porsche, so it's going to handle brilliantly. It's a wagon, so you're going to be able to haul whatever the family needs you to. I mean, of all the cars launched at Geneva, this is probably one, if I had the money, I'd absolutely buy. And that brings me to Mercedes-AMG and their brand new AMG GT concept. I think the thing looks beautiful. It's going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 horsepower. What's not to love there, right? And that's where we bring in Shifting Lanes' own chief minivan correspondent, Hanson Luckman.
The AMG GTS is a fantastic two-seater sports car. Why add more doors? It just doesn't make any sense. I'm sitting in a minivan right now. Would you make a minivan AMG? That's ridiculous. Keep it two doors. Don't ruin the reputation. Just stop whatever you're doing.
All right, I'll give them that 4 doors might not be the absolute last word in sexiness when it comes to a car, and especially when you consider it up against the current AMG GT, which is quite possibly the most beautiful thing Mercedes has ever made. What's wrong with 4 doors? Yeah, they're not going to make a minivan, but 4 doors, that kind of power? Come on now. You can have all the fun of a supercar with all the practicality of a 4-door sedan. I love super sedans, and this thing is going to be quite possibly the most super of all of them. And that brings me to some lingering questions. Number 1, is Mercedes showing their full hand? Or is Ferrari going to actually contend for a world championship this year? Number 2, Red Bull. Are they showing everything they got, or do they have some catching up to do to match Ferrari and Mercedes? Number 3, McLaren. Is it time for them to cut ties with Honda? The Honda power unit has been underpowered, it's been unreliable. I personally think it's time. What do you think? Number 4, the Geneva Auto Show. What were some of your favorites? What did you love? What did you hate? Let us know. And lastly, number 5, the Mercedes AMG GT concept. I love it. The boys don't. Where do you stand? You with me or are you with those idiots? And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you can go to shiftinglanes.com for all your latest news, opinions, and all things automotive. You can also catch us out on social media. I'll put the links right here. I've been Chad, and I'll catch you next time.